Alright, so in the spirit of 29 two-door sedan details, this is the body I've got. I've got the missing piece here. There's a bunch of markings on this body because I plan to do quite a bit of modification to it. But this body came out of, I think it was Missouri. And it's actually really solid, really nice body. It should be back inside in the coming week or so, I hope. But yeah, this is the body that's going on the chassis that's being built. So this is my 29 two-door sedan chassis I'm building completely custom from scratch, 2x4 tubing, basically everywhere to the firewall, and then these front sections, these frame horns, that's custom design that I did in CAD and have then burned it out on my plasma table. And my plasma table is not large, it's a smaller version, and because of that I had to make a seam in these because these pieces are so big I was not able to cut it all in one section. So either way, I've put those back together, cut these out in strips, bent this for the radius that matches here on the ends. Long story short, finished product should look something like this. Well, should look exactly like this. And of course I'll be putting fish plates here and all the other joints. As of right now, this cross member, of course that's an 11 gauge blade or 1/8 inch transmission mount. That stuff was all done in the last couple of weeks. I don't know that that's actually the last iteration of this transmission cross member. However, you can kind of see what I've got going on. I've made some allotments for tubing and wiring to pass through, as well as the exhaust. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with the exhaust on this yet, but I do know that I want to build this car to be able to drive it just about anywhere. So I probably don't want open headers constantly. So I'm making some provisions for exhaust system in it. Anyway, where I'm at with this right now, I have most recently just tacked this on just to see how it was going to look. I have landed all of my body mounts. So this sedan body is going to be different than most cases where the sedan body would normally mount directly to the chassis. Again, I'm trying to build this car so that it is enjoyable even on long distance trips. So what that meant to me was, let me see if I can't get the body isolated from the chassis and maybe limit some of the vibrations and road noise that will come through the body itself. So this is a Jeep Cherokee body lift kit, or no, it wasn't a lift kit. It was just a regular replacement isolator kit. Bought that and then I made custom mounts, and I'm still not sure, to be honest right now, whether those are going to get lowered and I'm going to channel the body further. I think I may have made a mistake on my calculations for that stuff, but if so, fortunately, easy fix. I'll just chop them off the frame and move them down further and channel the body over the chassis a little bit further. I don't want a lot of the body, I don't want a lot of the chassis exposed at the side of the body when you're looking at it, you know, from 20, 30 feet away. So I may very well have to move these down. All of my ride height stuff right now is calculated for this chassis to be 4 inches off the ground at ride height. What that's done, I know what tire size I'm going to be using, front and rear. I'm going to be doing bigs and littles. And so because of that, I was also able to make these, which will set my Ford 9-inch exactly the height that I want based on the tire sizes. So I've really been able to kind of dial this in pretty well. So today what I'm going to get accomplished, what I need to get accomplished, is I need to build the other frame horn. And in order to do that, I need my welding table, which I've actually tacked the whole chassis to, as you see. So I'm going to put a couple of stops all the way around this chassis before I cut the tacks loose so that I can put the chassis back in the same exact spot. The reason that matters to me is because I have measurements on the table. And then once this is off the table, I will finish up welding up the other frame horn so that I can put this all back on the table and get the chassis finished. And then I can start building the front cross member as well as I can start mocking up the engine mounts. From there, I'll be able to finish the rest of the suspension pieces in the back for the 4-link. I'm doing a triangulated 4-link in the rear and a buggy spring in the front. So yeah, that is the plan for the day, and we'll see what we get accomplished. So I am working on the passenger side frame horn, and at this point I rolled all these over my leg, over my knee, other than of course this. I actually did that with some fender over there. Got this nice and stress-free bent to match this. Then from there I used some spacers to make sure this stayed nice and parallel from plate to plate on the bottom, and of course it's tacked to the table at this point. So from here, what I plan to do is I actually made some spacers just really as a keeper in here to hold the space in the hollow portion of the frame. And I'll have to look back and see what I did on the other one, to be honest with you, because I'm not exactly sure how I got both sides welded in there, but I know I did. I think I just cut like a slot and tab kind of scenario. Anyway, these will be inside here to hold the other plate from bowing downward as I clamp it into place. And hopefully here pretty soon we'll have this whole thing tacked together. I'm going to leave it tacked to the table so that I can probably do intermittent stitch welds all the way down this side. Then I will cut it loose. I'll grind it flat, cut it loose, flip it over, clamp it back down to the table, likely tack it back down to the table, and then I will stitch weld the other side in the same manner, just to get some of the stress applied to both sides of this frame rail and not tweak it so badly. From there, I'll probably just go after it and fully weld it out, and we'll see if we can't get it tacked to the frame soon, get everything lined up. All right, well, I have finished up the passenger side frame horn. This is 100% welded. It was tacked to the table, welded, and flipped back and forth as I stitch welded down the entire sides of it. And it's actually come out very straight. I'm really happy with it. So now we're putting that frame back on the table where it's supposed to be and seeing if we can't get the front frame horns added to this thing. Straightened out, parallel, and level with each other, and see if we can't get something built out of this now. This is the last major component in order to see the frame complete, other than a front cross member. So this is good. So here's where we're at. I lined everything up based on the outer edge down there of the frame on both sides. And all of this actually just so happens to be the same width as my table. So I have all of the lines marked out on the table. And then I put a 2x2 post here to get the same outer dimension as the rear of the frame. Then I projected this line out with this piece of tubing so that I could actually measure from the side of the frame out to here and make sure that it equals the same as the back of the chassis. That's how I'm keeping all of this parallel from front to back. So I've done that on both sides. So I've got this run down to there. Again, I'll measure from here to here. And I know that's supposed to be 6 inches in between there. I've managed that on both sides. And now I've managed to keep the front frame horns parallel with the rest of the frame. At this point, I'm going to start doing some of the calculations and figuring for a front cross member in here for my spring, my leaf spring. And I'll custom build that. And from there, really, it's a matter of setting up all the suspension. So we're getting somewhere.